Okay, just wanted to take a minute to talk about some of my favorite podcasts. There are ones I listen to a lot, and then there's ones I don't listen to that much. I mostly listen to my podcasts on this iPod. I was listening to them on an iPad, but I realized that it's not. Um, it didn't seem practical to listen to podcasts on something so big. I mean, if I wanted to listen to video, if I wanted to watch video, there's this one that comes out Rachel Maddow or Mad Money, or even maybe Joan Rivers, In Bed with Joan Rivers. I could watch them if I wanted to, because video would be a little bit better on the iPad, but I choose to listen more so, because there are some audio versions of the video, and I can be a little more mobile with this little iPod, and there's a little speaker on the end. You don't want to get the smaller iPod, because some don't have the speaker built in. This one does. And I'll sit in my car and just put it in my visor and just listen. I'm parked right next to a library, so I have internet. Oh, this iPod is gonna die. This is a bad iPod actually. I kind of need another one. For some reason the battery likes to die easy. But besides that, before it can die, I'm able to arrange my favorite podcasts on the top portion, and as you can see, starting at the top now, I like to listen to this NPR Most Emailed Stories a lot. I mean, it's my go-to. Every day they have more stories. They put out about 20 minutes to a half an hour of stories every day, and there's such a variety from culture to science. I keep filling this thing. Oh, the battery life went up. That was at 20%, and now it's going back up, so you could see. iPod's a different story. The next one, if I'm really into it, I listen to maybe like an hour a day on average, sometimes a little bit less. It depends on what sounds interesting. The next one is Planet Money. I love listening to what they have to say about money and how money is allocated and stuff. It's great information. NPR really has some great programs they put together. But yeah, I learned about that T-shirt string of stories, just the life of a T-shirt and how it's processed and all that. They did a Kickstarter on Planet Money about these T-shirts, and they just went right to the source of where they're made and how they're financed and everything. I never would have thought, about the history of it all, how it all went back to Nixon, and how Bangladesh is where a lot of the T-shirts were made, and how Bangladesh was able to even get factories in their area. It's amazing. And then I'm really getting into these This Week In. It's a lot of This Week In law. There used to be a This Week In YouTube, which I enjoyed, but they cut that. I guess they weren't happy with the listenership. This Week in Hardware, This Week in Tech, This Week in Google, This Week in Tech News. Just a lot of This Week In. They cover with a lot of interesting stuff. Let me go into it a little bit. It's not Earwolf. Earwolf has some Twit. Okay, they're like the Twit network. And how do they make their money? They every so often break for ads, kind of like what the radio does. In between songs, every 5 songs or so, they'll stop for an ad. But in between those ads, there's a lot of great information. Computer hardware, they talk about stuff that boggles my mind. I don't understand what they're saying, but it's so interesting to listen to all the different topics that I normally don't hear about in a regular conversation. This Week in Law, they tend to focus on technology-related stuff, but it's amazing. I mean, once again, they talk about things that are a little over my head, but I mean, I like to hear the language about them, about this stuff, and then maybe it could later down the road come to fruition. This Week in Google, I keep up. I don't really listen to This Week in Google a lot, but I mean, Google is really changing the world. They can dedicate a This Week in successfully. They're in like episode 300, computer hardware episode like 400 or so. These guys are in the hundreds. They've been out for a while. If it's This Week in, they've been out for a few years. Comedy Bang Bang, that's a definite go-to. Great stuff there. I'm surprised on the amount of high-class humor they got. They got good guests. Oh man, Intelligence Squared. I don't know if enough people know about this. That is a great debate podcast. Was Snowden justified? Does spying keep us safe? I mean, there's two people who argue for it and two people argue against it. I don't know how much they believe in what they're saying, but they certainly do their research, because we're talking about people who argue from Harvard or high government officials or just important academical people. They'll get together in a room. They charge people an audience to watch, and the audience votes. So you get an idea. Was Snowden justified? I won't say. You can listen for yourself what the audience thought. I like this social media marketing. Very interesting. If I wanted to learn more about the social media stuff. Tech News Today, if weekly isn't enough, they'll sit and they'll rap about the daily tech news. Tech is changing on a daily basis. Whatever his first name is, J Moore. Yeah, he's doing some great comedy. He's always riffing on people, and that's just great. I like to listen to that a lot. The WTF with Mark Maron. He's a little let's say neurotic, but at times it's interesting. He really will dig into people's personalities and get to know them when he interviews people. It's just fascinating. He'll ask some of the tough questions, and he'll try to keep comedy edge to it. I really enjoy going to it. The Instance, it's great stuff. I was addicted to WoW, to World of Warcraft for a couple of years. I was in a period of illness, and I wanted to escape the illness and help get my mind off of it. Now I understand what they talk about. This Week in Startups, I've started listening to them recently. I'll say I only listen to one episode, but it's fascinating. That one episode. The guy comes from the Bronx, the interviewer, so he's got that tough talk edge, that mafia type talk to him. That's very unique. Everybody has a different type of. I mean, we're talking about people across the world, and everybody has a different dialect that they're bringing into it. Yogscast pops up every so often to be good. The Simple Simon series stuff was interesting. Yeah, see, and it was a while ago too. Back in January, so you can't really rely on them to put out a lot of great content. Every so often, their old stuff is interesting. Back to Work, San Francisco based guy. He's I'd say middle class, and they don't really seem to talk much about being back to work or anything. It's more about just the daily lives of their house lives or something. But they got a lot of interesting stuff. Every so often I'll listen to them just for a change of pace, because they offer a change of pace in conversation, which is great. Vice is great. 60 Minutes you can listen to. The Sci-Fi is interesting. Adam Carolla every so often, if you want to listen to a guy go on a rant, that can be funny at times. A lot of creativity in the 99% invisible. it's kind of like another story one, like most emailed stories. Star Talk is great. So yeah, Toby sucks. He's just emerged. He's like on only episode 3, but he is funny. Okay, there is no denying that. He's good on YouTube. I can't watch all his videos on YouTube. I mean, I only probably watch 1 or 2 a week on YouTube. I'm starting to like his podcast because he's it's a little less structured. Even video games are a little too structured. He's even more unstructured on podcasts, which I appreciate. Joe Rogan, he's good, especially when he's got some fascinating people. He'll definitely let people talk for 3 hours. You Made It Weird is interesting. I mean, these are all I like to go to at every so often. I can't listen to the same one over and over, except for the most emailed stories, but they change up the format so much every day that I keep going back to them. But a lot of these guys, they're the same personality, and I can listen to them maybe sometimes once a month. That's it. Just like I wouldn't expect people to listen to me every day. Just amazing personalities. All these, I like to have a wide variety, and it's nice to be able to just pick from them every so often, just to see what's up. I don't like to listen to them every day, but every so often, I can appreciate what's going on. They all have, and especially if some news thing came out, something that was interesting, I want to learn more about. Some of these guys are a little more qualified to give you some insights than others, so that's something to consider. But yeah, I keep a lot of these on. A lot of them I really don't listen to a lot. This Brain Science podcast hasn't done anything in quite a few months. They're almost practically, you could say, dead. Bill Burr is practically dead. So Norm Macdonald had a little bit, and what he had was excellent, but he stopped. So every so often these people will stop putting out podcasts, or just not put them out as much. Like there's one, it's the history, hardcore history. He puts out like 3-hour deals. What's this one? Yeah, 3 hours, and it's great, but he doesn't put them out very often. October 30th, and then January 30th. So what he puts out for his history stuff is very there's big distances in between in time, but they're really good. Hardcore history is really good. But yeah, I enjoy these. Just putting that out there.